Hello, you are watching Shalom World News. I'm Rudy McLennan coming to you from Glasgow, Scotland. Here are the latest headlines from around the world. Israel is entering its third week of war against Hamas after the terrorist group infiltrated the country on the 7th of October, firing thousands of rockets at residential areas and killing hundreds of civilians. With the damage being collateral, the war is now the deadliest it has ever been for either side. Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, Cardinal Pier Battista Pizzaballa, has expressed his sympathy for all the victims of the war that is ravaging the Holy Land, calling for an end to the senseless violence. More than 1,400 Israelis have been killed since the surprise attack by Hamas, in which over 200 people, including foreign nationals, were taken captive in Gaza.
At least 33 Americans have been killed during Israel's war with the terrorist organization Hamas, and 10 are still missing, Secretary of State Antony Blinken told the United Nations on Tuesday. Blinken urged all nations to denounce Hamas's actions and re-emphasized the need to protect civilians.
We're all determined to prevent this conflict from spreading. To that end, we call on all member states to send a firm, united message to any state or non-state actor that is considering opening another front in this conflict against Israel, or who may target Israel's partners, including the United States. Don't throw fuel on the fire. Members of this council, and permanent members in particular, have a special responsibility to prevent this conflict from spreading.
The diplomat reaffirmed American support for Israel's right to self-defense. Meanwhile, hundreds of relatives of those taken hostage by Hamas took to the streets outside the UN headquarters in Geneva to demand the release of the hostages and urge global action. The Voice for Freedom Coalition, a global coalition of more than 300 Christian organizations, organized the event to raise attention to Hamas acts. The militants took 222 people hostage, including the elderly and children. Family members spoke about their agonizing experiences at the gathering. Early on Tuesday, a military helicopter brought freed hostages Nurit Cooper, aged 79, and Yehevid Lifshitz, aged 85, to a medical center in Tel Aviv. Their release comes days after two Americans, the mother-daughter duo of Judith and Natalie Ronan, were released on humanitarian grounds. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres told the Security Council on Tuesday that the protection of civilians is paramount in war. The UN chief said the situation is growing more dire by the hour, repeating his call for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire. News Desk, SW News.
US Customs and Border Protection has issued a memo warning that Islamic terrorists belonging to Hamas and Hezbollah could potentially enter the United States through the southern border. The memo warns that foreign fighters motivated by ideology or mercenary soldiers may attempt to travel to or from the US from countries in the Middle East through Mexico. The memo expressly directs Border Patrol agents to inquire about people's ties to Hezbollah, the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, Hamas, and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad. As per newly disclosed federal data, Border Patrol agents encountered a record number of 169 people on the FBI's terror watch list along the southern border last year. A group of US Congressmen is urging the Joe Biden administration to impose a sales embargo on seafood produced in two Chinese provinces. They are arguing that American companies shouldn't be allowed to do business with Chinese facilities that employ forced labour. The request was sent on Tuesday by the heads of the Congressional Executive Commission on China to the Department of Homeland Security. The commission cited reports of human rights violations in China's fishing fleet and the forced labour of ethnic Uyghurs from the northwest region of Xinjiang in seafood processing facilities in the eastern province of Shandong. These investigations were conducted by the non-profit organisation, the Outlaw Ocean Project. The US imports roughly 80% of its seafood, with China supplying more than any other country. Beijing claims that Washington is exploiting the subject as an excuse to stop China's rise. The Supreme Court of the American state of Georgia has issued a ruling that keeps the 6-week abortion ban in the state in effect. The top court recognised the personhood of unborn babies, with the ban mostly applying to procedures carried out after the discovery of a fetal heartbeat. In a 6-1 decision on October the 24th, the court ruled that the Living Infants Fairness and Equality Act, signed back in 2019, was constitutional. However, it didn't go into effect until the overturning of Roe v. Wade last year. Once the law was about to go into effect, a Fulton County judge ruled to overturn the same before the Supreme Court then reversed that verdict. Various pro-life advocates have welcomed the Supreme Court ruling, calling it a major victory for life. The commissioners of Lubbock County in Texas have decided to make it illegal to transport a person on their highways for the purpose of an abortion. Legislation banning abortion in Lubbock County's unincorporated region was enacted on Monday. With this, the district has designated itself as a sanctuary county for the unborn. The measure makes it illegal for anyone to obtain or carry out an elective abortion of any kind at any stage of pregnancy in the unincorporated part of the county. It also forbids anyone from knowingly abetting or aiding anyone seeking transport for an abortion, regardless of where the abortion would take place. Alumni of Harvard University in the United States have accused the Ivy League institution of ignoring the safety of Jewish students as pro-Palestine protests take place on campus. 5 notable former students of Harvard Business School, including former Republican presidential candidate Senator Mitt Romney, have also expressed concern over the safeguarding of Jewish students. They issued an open letter condemning the threatening nature of the protests on campus and pointing at the fear instilled in Jewish students. In the letter addressed to Harvard University President Claudine Gay, the alumni urged the administration to uphold and enforce the university's existing moral code of conduct among its students and employees. The situation on campus was triggered when 30 student groups put the blame on Israel for the October the 7th Hamas terror attack. There appears to be no end in sight to the spate of kidnappings and killings in Nigeria. In the latest incident, a Benedictine novice was shot dead and his body dumped in a river in Iruku. Brother Godwin Eze from the Benedictine monastery of Ilorin Diocese was killed by suspected Fulani militants. 2 other brothers were also kidnapped alongside Brother Eze on October the 17th. However, the abducted brothers Anthony and Peter were later released as per a communique issued by the diocese on October the 24th. The diocese expressed sadness over the news of the murder of the novice and sought prayers for the repose of his soul. Meanwhile, a Nigerian prelate has told British politicians that prayer is the key to combating jihadist violence in Africa. Bishop Oliver Duemi said as much while speaking at the launch of Aid to the Church Who Needs Religious Freedom in the World Africa update in the UK Parliament. The Holy Father, Pope Francis, has approved a decree recognising a miracle attributed to the intercession of Blessed Maria Antonia of St. Joseph. Popularly known as Mama Antula, the Argentinian blessed has now moved closer to canonisation. According to the Holy See Press Office, Pope Francis met with the prefect of the Dicastery for the Causes of Saints, Cardinal Marcello Semeraro, and authorised the promulgation of the decree on the miracle attributed to the intercession of Blessed Antonia, who founded the House for Spiritual Exercises in Buenos Aires in the 18th century. She played an instrumental role in promoting Ignatian retreats in the poor regions of northeastern Argentina after the expulsion of the Jesuits from the country. She passed away on the 7th of March in 1799 after helping thousands of people attend retreats. Religious organisations in the state of Ohio are urging voters to reject an upcoming ballot initiative that seeks to enshrine so-called abortion rights within the state constitution. In a resounding display of dissent, clergy members hailing from 171 congregations across the state have unequivocally voiced their opposition to Issue 1. This contentious ballot item is scheduled to be decided upon during the upcoming November the 7th general election. In a proposed amendment to the Ohio Constitution, Issue 1 frames the issue as establishing a right of individuals to exercise supposed autonomy over their reproductive choices. If passed, this amendment would encompass a range of decisions, such as contraception, fertility treatment, pregnancy continuation, miscarriage care, and indeed abortion. The Archdiocese of Seville in Spain will commemorate the beatification of 20 individuals who perished as a result of the persistent religious persecution unleashed during the Spanish Civil War between 1936 and 1939. Cardinal Marcello Semeraro of the Dicastery for the Causes of Saints will preside over the beatification ceremony at the Cathedral of Seville on November the 18th. 10 priests, 1 seminarian and 9 lay people will move one step closer to sainthood at the ceremony. They were all assassinated in 1936 due to anti-religious animosity. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres expressed concern that Monday's UN-sponsored gathering in Rome was taking place during a time of global food security issues. He underscored the seriousness of the situation by saying that fewer steps are being taken toward the objective of ending world hunger completely by 2030 than there were the year before, with 735 million people remaining hungry. He said starvation and hunger were huge abuses of human rights, painting a vivid picture of the catastrophic repercussions of the mounting global tragedy. And those are your latest headlines. Do join us again next time for more. And do remember, in the meantime, you can always go to swnews.org for more updates. Shalom.